Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, the altcoin market, XRP, and we take a look over there at the United States stock market as it gets set to open here in the next 4 minutes. We'll take a look, of course, over there at the US dollar. We'll peek over there at precious metals, and we'll take a look at any type of financial news or any type of crypto news that seems relevant or important as we get ready for markets to open and the volatility of the world to set in. So markets open here in the next 4 minutes. We've had some interesting stuff go on in the world just in the last 24 hours. It's really this last 48 hours has been kind of whack. You saw Binance get some type of offer from Department of Justice or whatever, pay $4 billion and we'll stop pursuing you, which of course brings up the meme of CZ Binance always holding up that number 4 for FUD or whatever. And then yesterday we saw the SEC come in and open up another lawsuit against Kraken. So if you know, they extorted Kraken for $30 million recently. Kraken paid it, and now it looks like the extortion has begun again from the United States Security and Exchange Commission once again. So, you know, we put out a video yesterday. It was like right after that video came out, boom, welcome back, SEC. Like, oh, you guys think you're having a good time? Not today. So the SEC is back doing their thing. Put out a video yesterday really talking about just where we're at with Bitcoin as it sits at 36,900 right now. We've talked all about these different scenarios as we just watch it waddle along as it did back in 2020. The great debate that still exists, of course, is whether or not it is 2020. Is it actually more like 2016? Or are we seeing a Doomtown scenario there? The thing we've talked about for the last couple of years where Bitcoin would head back down to $2,000, $3,000, and that this was the end of a not only super cycle, but like a grand super cycle. And we're at that level, right? So that was the whole thing for the last year and a half of, you know, we're going to head back into retracements. Of course, we've hit back into the first one. The question is, can we get through here? Can this not be Doomtown scenario for Bitcoin forever? Or at least the next couple of years, and can we get our way out of it? So if you didn't catch yesterday's video, we're gonna kind of talk about these things here in Markets in the Morning as well as the day gets kicked off, just to have an understanding of where Bitcoin is now, what the similarities were to back in here, but at the same time, you know we've got to get through this area. This is the area that most of the market has struggled at on any type of retracement right here back in April of 2022. This is that level where Ethereum got rejected when it did pretty much the exact same thing. So this has been brought up for years. We're here. We got to get through it in order for this not to be the end of times for Bitcoin. Of course, you know, in the event of 2016, when we were recovering after a super cycle, we essentially just kept building levels and building on top of new levels. You guys have seen this several times. You know, that's still in play too. The timing of this thing has just been silly. 299 days. Oh, geez. Come on back. You could do it. Where are you? There we go. 299 days after the peak came in for Bitcoin, we also had the exact same price behavior play out. 699 days after the peak came in, we break out. And then over here, I haven't even done the math on it. We just know it's like over 1,000 days. 1,000 days later, we leave at the exact same time. And then now we're just continuing to waddle along here in the same areas without really being able to get through that 38,000. So this was 2016's playbook of recovery after a super cycle. This thing still, nothing is broken from here, but everything. The question is, can we get through here? I've done so many newsletters, I guess you could say so many newsletters, but really it's been so many videos and live stream discussions, Twitter threads that have been written in there about the correlation of Bitcoin to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And that, you know, that's the mandatory requirement we have seen in every big move, big run that has happened for Bitcoin. It's unequivocal. Unequivocal means it's just based in fact. It's not debatable. And that is why nobody has ever one time come back with anything of a rebuttal based in any type of reality to combat that, because that is not a opinion. That is not something just made up. It is completely based in fact with the data points to prove it all. So that is considered unequivocal and non-debatable because it's not an opinion. It is factual data. So yesterday we went through and really discussed, all right, well, what's going on with the stock market? Do we have similarities happening currently right now that we actually did to back in 2020 when this did end up occur for Bitcoin and it did go breaking out a whole lot higher? And so some of the things we talked about in there was really the Dow, right? And so we brought up the NDXT, or the NASDAQ 100 technology sector, and how that has been very correlated to Bitcoin's price action this time around. But still, we're still delayed over here on the Dow. But things I showed there is that how the Dow had gotten back into retracements and had done this ABC structure in here. I want you to notice that we have the ABC structure over here in the NASDAQ 100 technology sector index as well. And notice that the price behavior does the same thing in here. Notice as it falls down for A, this is where the capitulation or the massive liquidation event happened here in August of 2023. This is where everybody just got shocked. It took 5 minutes. We just wiped out the market here in the A leg of the ABC correction in here. Notice as we're falling in A in here, we have that same occurrence happen over here back in 2020. Then notice we go in for the B leg. We go in for the B leg up in here. And notice as it falls down into the C down here for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, this is the leg that Bitcoin shifts up in. Notice as we go down into the C leg down in here, this is the leg that Bitcoin shifts up in. If you caught it really over the last month, how many people were sitting there on Twitter? A lot of Bitcoiners, just tons of them. Decorrelation from the United States stock market, blah, blah, blah. This is what happened then too. This is exactly how it behaved in that one moment. We talk about how sometimes there can be divergences between index or divergences between Bitcoin and between the altcoin market. There becomes moments and times where you can see these divergences, but for the big moves, it's gonna be pretty in line. And so what we noticed then with the Dow after that, right, this is where we're talking about, right? So this whole area right in here from 2020, this location is right here back in 2020. You see on the bottom of the screen, it says October of 2020. This is that area. This is that breakout. Here's the C leg. And then it starts shifting up. And then that's when shortly after Bitcoin starts going for its stab to go a little bit higher. What we see over here on the NDXT after the ABC correction, we now see the NDXT starting to shift its way up. This thing is 15 minutes delayed. So when it does update itself here in 12 minutes from right now, it's going to be having a pullback this morning because we do have a 0.25% pullback over here in the stock market as the day gets started. But you could see it had left the ABC, it had set the new high over here, and then crypto goes along with it at the same time. So very similar behaviors happening, at least in certain aspects of the market. The question is, will it require the whole Dow Jones Industrial Average, or can it go with the NDXT? Historically, it has required the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but the correlation and the timing to the NDXT has been much more similar this time around. As we know, in October, November, and December of last year, the Dow Jones just went straight back up to its 702. You can see that right in here, right here in October, boom. By the time you get to December, here you are all the way back in retracement levels. It did take other indexes a lot longer to work their way back up to get into there, and now we start to see them start to peak their way out in here. So there are similarities that are occurring in here that are elements required in all markets, and liquidity flooding into markets and people YOLOing that have historically been mandatory to get something like that to occur. So we do see some elements of that appearing. The issue, of course, is, are we still 2016ing? Are we actually in this? So this was the first target to say, hey, in the ultimate doomtown scenario, this is it. We aren't through it yet. We're right at it. So Bitcoin's got to get through it in order to say that's not it, because that would be, yeah, I'll sell my Bitcoin. No problem, man. If we go losing 31.8 thousand and start closing down in here in the 27s, that's it. That's it. It's done. Game over for Bitcoin. One of the things that's also interesting too is just as a chartist and somebody who comes onto YouTube, I'll voice my opinion very strongly, and I try to refrain from using a lot of hedge wording, like on what my bias of the market is. There may be times where I'm like, I don't really know what's going to happen right here, or this is kind of iffy, this is kind of iffy. But for the last year and a half, it's been about we're going back up, right? We're going back up into retracement levels. And so now we finally get here. Now it is going to be kind of iffy. Like, all right, can we get through these things? Can we get through these things? But what I have noticed from somebody who does this, who comes onto YouTube and has to I choose to voice an opinion either way or have conviction either way. I know there's a ton of hedging out there from other content creators. There's a ton of people who are charlatans in the space who pretend that they know what they're doing, but they have literally no clue, and have hedged their wording for the last year and a half without giving any real clear direction whatsoever. Now suddenly they are mega bull. They are like strong conviction. They know it for certain. We're mega bull. But it absolutely took getting all the way back up in here. It took for the fear and greed index to reach into greed for them to finally capitulate on them being super iffy to finally being mega bull. And of course, that's occurring as we get back in here. I don't know if it's going to reject here. I hope it does not reject here. I have data on the back end where stuff, just like secret stuff that I have that I don't share with you guys. I can see when there is certain levels of euphoria happening in the market. There's not euphoria here for sure. There's not euphoria. That's typically the mark of the top. But there's definitely a change in sentiment. And, my personal thoughts are we're not getting out of here, right? And for Bitcoin, regardless of if the stock market goes and sets a little new high. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But, it took getting through all of this for the hedging to stop and for them to become mega bulls when there's only that much left. And that's just typically what happens. Retail has the tendency to pull back into retracement levels. But obviously right now we're at the first level of concern. The positive things that are here is that, hey, this still is just shifting along in here. And you do have similarities occurring in the stock market of what happened in that moment with not getting through the highs, crossing through retracement levels. We know that the Dow even got all the way through the peak of the 786 retracement. We can pull that up right in here, right? That it had gotten itself through all retracement levels in here. Again, this is another poke above 786. We'll see how it closes the day out today when the day comes to an end. And even for this little range right in here, boom, now it has poked through all retracement levels on this range as well. So there's signs there. We know that the 4.236 extension is about 11% higher than here. There's no way for me to have any type of bullish ideas beyond that level. If it goes beyond 4.236, I'll be just blind as a bat on the market on why it's doing that and why it would go any higher. I wouldn't expect it. The Dow Jones is up over 400% from the great financial crisis. It's only 11% away. It's going to probably be similar behavior of what we saw with Bitcoin back in 2021, where even though the peak was coming in, the market was euphoric that we were going to 100K. So again, peaking over there at like the NDXT or the NASDAQ 100 technology sector index, to give you an idea how this is actually distribution that is happening in here for the NDXT. We can actually look to Bitcoin, right? So we know that Bitcoin came up shy of hitting its 4.236 extension for its market cap back in April and May of 2021. Proceeded with a 50% crash, at Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live, China banning Bitcoin mining, all that good stuff. Then Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk, and Cathie Wood have their little Zoom call for everybody, and we head back to the top, and then Bitcoin finally hits its 4.236 extension for its market cap. This is distribution. This is how you end up reaching those peaks. However, it's marked with incredible weakness. It does not have more strength as it goes on and sets that. It essentially sets a bearish divergence on much larger timeframes, which we'll be looking for should we end up getting this. But you can see over here on the NDXT, after having the ABC correction, back to the support after the selling climax. Boom, it has popped up to get out through the 702 retracement. Looking back to Bitcoin, right? Same thing. Here's your selling climax. There's the resistance level that is placed in there. Gets back to the 702. ABC corrects back to the support on top of the selling climax. And then we go back through the 702 and then waffle around in here. So likely waffling around in here for a little while, but expectations, get that new high. And then just there's not much left. There's not much left in the NASDAQ. There's about 11% to hit the 4.236. There's about 11% left in the Dow Jones to hit the 4.236. And the Dow is, again, even that 11%, where that 4.236 extension is, that's an equivalent run. That means from the great financial crisis to now, we have run up the equivalents of what we did during the roaring 20s before the Great Depression began. So keeping that in mind, right? So for me, it's like if I'm going to have any type of ideas on how price can go higher, I have to think to the bigger time frame of why it could. Well, it could if we are in distribution, right? If we're in distribution, we're going to go hit the 4.236 extension. That means this is end of cycle stuff. This is where retail buys the top, which is where retail thinks everything is great, and we're going to shoot up to the upside and keep going for forever. But it's where we're actually going to end up rolling over, and this is the final phase of distribution. So that would make sense to go set a new all-time high in that circumstance. And so it's one of those things where it's like super bearish, but the world views it as super bullish. And CNBC, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, everywhere will be reporting as brand new all-time highs. Let's go. But to understand that's not what this type of structure is. This is a distribution structure. And if we do end up getting the new all-time high, that I will be ultimate bear. I'll become the Michael Burry of of the world for a little while there to see what happens at those 4.236 extensions. And if we go beyond them, I will definitely not have a clear picture beyond that, because my conviction is quite strong. For an all-time high to happen right now in the United States stock market, it's in the event that we are actually in a distribution phase, which means you can get a new high, just like Bitcoin did, just like Ethereum did, but understanding where that is in this thing. So, could we go marching up in the stock market? That pushes Bitcoin up. It seems like it's possible. We know where we're at right now, but even in the event of following 2016, it's just retracements. I'm not going to change on that. You would have to have like a legitimate, full-fledged, massive break of the all-time high in the Dow Jones, getting beyond the 4.236 extension, likely for me to be convinced that Bitcoin's going to be going into a new all-time high. I think there's a viability for this to go up, but like I presented a long time ago, even in the early phases of this, showing like, even if we continued like this and shot up, I think we would just get into retracement levels, and then there wouldn't be that next leg where it takes it up into the all-time highs. So, all right, that's where we're at. The answer is still yet to be there. 2016, 2020, or ultimate super doomer. But I think the answer comes a lot from the United States stock market, and can it go set the new all-time highs? What we see in the NDXT is very similar to what happens when new all-time highs do come, and we do know that this phase was also the same phase that did happen in 2020 when we were in here. So big question, can it go? If it can go, this is going to be the mindset. Remember, there's going to be a lot of people who will not believe in this. Mindsets change, and sometimes it happens slow enough to where we don't recognize it, that all of your favorite content creators on Twitter and everywhere are like bulls now, right? But not remembering that just 1 month ago from right now, we're screaming for 12K, 23K, doomers, all that stuff. But 30 days passes, it's enough time for our short-term memories to forget all of it. And then now we're all super mega ball and we're going to 250K for Bitcoin. But this is going to be, in the event that we can get up in here for the NDXT, and we can get up in here for the NASDAQ, and we can get up here in the Dow. Again, if you choose to continue watching this YouTube channel, we're going to be approaching it in the manner of, this is distribution. This is the final moment. This is the final fireworks of the United States stock market. And it's going to be a interesting ride ahead. So, happy Doom Tuesday. But I mean, it's like short term, okay, right? I mean, like it could be really exciting for a minute, right? So, all right, there you go. XRP, not a whole lot going on over here. I didn't forgot to bring up the altcoin market cap. Let's do the DXY real quick. DXY has gotten back down to the 236 retracement level after bouncing off the 50. It's been in here. Gold, we're seeing gold shoot up today up to over $2,000, and you're seeing silver get to $23.93. So it's up 50 cents. I did get one little Black Friday deal last night. I bought like 20 ounces. But you know, I was a little trigger shy to do much, and I had a little bit of buyer's remorse afterwards, but hey, I guess it's doing okay now. So there we go. We're up 50 cents per ounce on my 20 ounces. I'm up $10. Retiring from BCB today, guys. All right. There you go. Let's look over here at the indexes. You got a red day over here in the stock market. You've got the NASDAQ down 80 points, which is about 0.5%. You got the Dow down 95 points, which is about 0.25%. And the S&P down 13 points, which is about 0.3%. Losers, winners and losers of the day. Winners are Tesla, Google, and United Health. Losers are Roblox, Coinbase, and ARK. So right along there. Nothing too huge, right? A couple percentage down, 1% up. A lot in that about 0.5% range right in there. Back to XRP. There we go. So XRP, there's not a whole lot to say here in the event that this is just one long Wyckoff accumulation and that we ignore the news pump that happened that lasted for 4 hours and then got reclaimed. It's as if we're just like the rest of the market. We accumulated, left the range. I've left this little thing here, like we can switch this over just so you understand what that actually is. This is where all the daily candle closes are, right? So no daily candle closes exceeded that line right in there. And even in here when we're back testing, boom, we just barely hold right on top of the daily candle closes. And as you can see, that's as high as it got. So good. There you go, right there and right there. Otherwise, no daily candles exceed that. So I do have that little line on there. And then we could see where the actual peak of the wick was of the range as well. So we had a wick here, we had a wick here, and you can see that that's where that bounce took place on. So just kind of waiting for something to show up here for XRP. There's nothing too interesting to say about it right now, unless we're just going to go back and back test the top of the range after spending 1.5 years in it. Can we successfully back test it? We did a little bit of a back test here that was successful, but as we know, this one was complete and utter failure and a massive liquidation right back through it. So I don't know if we're going to have to back test it or not. It would be logical if we have to, but we can see that we have already at least held the first one. So waiting, and suspicion is waiting on this guy. Bitcoin's got to go show us where we're going to end up going. And at the same time, it's the stock market. It's all one big trade. There is no flip the switch. There is no magic. It's all just part of the big trade together. Looking over there at the dominances. So we've speaking about this. Here's some little squigglies that I added on here 4 months ago. The expectation, we're just waddling around in here that we would have one more push up and then a push down and then sideways for some time, right? Because that's what we do in here. And as you can see, we have just continued that sideways. I don't know how long that thing is going to stay in there. I'd expect one more fall here in these dominances. Likely a euphoric moment in the markets, and then probably a steep correction to come after that. At least that's the way I envision it. We're working on ranges. We're trying to work on sign of strength breakout. It would make sense that we do end up get the sign of strength breakout. And then after a sign of strength breakout, something crazy hopefully happening in the market, what would end up occurring after that? Come back and back test the broken resistance level, right? And that could be a steep fall, and that's kind of what I would imagine being the circumstance in here for something like the Bitcoin plus Ethereum plus USDT plus USDC dominance. All right, what do we need to do now? Man, that's a good 24-minute ramble right there. Haven't even brought this stuff up. Of course, check out my newsletter over here, guys, at blockchainbacker.substack.com. These have been a couple of write-ups that I've done where I've done a lot of data analysis on the altcoin market to determine the determining factors that separated the odds from being 20% chance that you had a coin that had a big run to being closer to like that 50% to 60% chance, kind of based on development data and based on percentage drawdowns. My last 2 newsletters have been really focused on this. You could check this out over there at blockchainbacker.substack.com. There's a link in the description of this video and this live stream, and I just posted one over there in the chat right now, so you can check that out. And of course, you guys, this is going to be a shortened week. I will be here today and tomorrow, and then it is Thanksgiving. I will be off on Thursday. I will be off on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a time that I I've made mistakes and I've worked through the holidays in years past, but then learned when the Ripple lawsuit happened, that was the last time. I was like, I completely missed my Thanksgiving, grinded through, and then we get to Christmas. And then the Ripple lawsuit happened 2 days before Christmas, and then my Christmas was ruined. And before I knew it, we were in 2024, and I never had a holiday break. And so since then, since 2020, I do take these days off and like legitimately step away. So if you're looking for something to do during those days, of course, check out the newsletter. You can check out bcbacker.com to get 40 videos from me and get all caught up on like the history of the cryptocurrency market, the behavior of the altcoins and Bitcoin, and learn a lot about this charting stuff. I try to break it down in a very simple to understand way. That's what I say. Let's make it simple. I always keep it in mind when I'm explaining things on my channel to try to explain them in a manner that most people can understand. I understand I'm not speaking to some Harvard professor or something. A lot of it, we're just normal people, right? And I try to explain that in that way, and taking these kind of complicated topics you may think of it like Wyckoff accumulation or Elliott wave theory, and thinking there's no way I can understand that. I try to break it down in pretty simple to understand ways, whether you just want to take it from a basic perspective or you want to go really deep on it. I give you those options on what to choose in there. But check that out. Today, I will be speaking with Santiment. So we're going to record a little bit. I'm not sponsored by Santiment. I don't have affiliate links for Santiment, anything like that. That has just been some important data that has been brought up during discussions of the altcoins. And I want to share that with you because I want to give you that information. And they'll kind of run through it and we'll talk about stuff because I've done a lot of data analysis. It does seem developer data is important. And I've tried to direct you guys in those places where you can find that, such as Electric Capital's developer report and Santiment. So we're going to talk about that stuff today. And this is one of those things that if I could go back in time, of course, with anything, you want to go back in time and have the best tools at your hand. This is stuff I wish I had a whole lot more focus on a long time ago. You don't really know until the market changes. And when the market changes and you try to find the answers as to why, you have to find out what were the determining factors. This seems to be an important determining factor. And if you're not going to listen to that and still live in the fantasy of just like shilling and screaming about your favorite altcoin, you're probably going to find yourself in a similar position as 2021. I think these are important things to focus on. And I'm going to share that. And it's probably going to be a topic that's going to be brought up moving forward for the rest of the time for this channel, because that data is no joke. It is no joke. So that's going to be stuff that we are talking about. So do yourself a favor and listen. Again, not sponsored, no affiliate links. There's no deals worked out, nothing. Just trying to put it at your fingertips to understand it. All right, looking over at metals. Gold, $2,006. Silver, $24. Goodbye, Black Friday deals. It was nice to see you. It looks like I won't be partaking. It's gone. Right, like, so to get now at this point for Black Friday deals, it's gonna have to be silver at spot price, or it's gonna have to be like Eagles at like $1.99 over spot. Otherwise, it's getting carried away. There you go, gold. In the end, I think even if the Dow does set the all-time high, I think the long-term winner is going to be gold. It's going to be gold. All right, looking over there at news. Bitcoin stalls below 38K as analysis hints the notorious BID is back. I guess I'm supposed to click that because that's clickbait, and I'm supposed to find out what notorious BID is. Not going to work for me, Telegraph. Cointelegraph. 6 questions for Alex O'Donnell about financial... Okay, expect some crypto companies to fail in the wake of Bitcoin's This is not news. All right, Blockchain Association files support in suit to lift Tornado Cash sanctions. All right, crypto community begins Bitcoin halving countdown. ZK community aligned with core Web3 mission. DYDX raises margin requirements. Sam Altman ousted from OpenAI. CTO Mira Murray named the CEO. Bitcoin friendly. There's no news. Okay, there's no news. You would think the SEC suing Kraken would have made the list there, Cointelegraph. Kraken accused by SEC of operating unregistered platform, improperly mixing customer funds. The U.S. crypto exchange is the latest target by the SEC and a series of similar actions being fought in court by other companies. Bitcoin faces headwinds as ETF optimism stalls. Doge and Solana give back their gains. Doge didn't really have any gains, but okay, but Solana definitely did. Looking over at the U.S. stock market, Best Buy cuts sales forecast as holiday shoppers hunt for deals. I agree. I think that prices are going to and deals are probably going to be a lot better this year. We'll see. Like we've talked about when it comes to like shipping and stuff, retailers either one, they missed the mark again, or two, they had a read on this market way ahead of most people, way ahead of just investors. We saw that the shipping container space was not being fought over in September and October, which is historically the most busy time, and it was practically dead. So they're either forecasting that holiday sales are going to be way down. We saw Amazon run their Prime Day in October. What were they doing? They're trying to front run the holiday shopping, right? I think there's a fight over it. And there may be a chance, like it's been a couple of years, there may be a chance we actually have some pretty decent deals here on Black Friday. I'm a huge Black Friday guy because I'm super cheap. I do not live a lavish lifestyle. I enjoy getting stuff for dirt cheap. I don't have a problem using coupons at the grocery store, wearing $6 t-shirts from Target. But I have a feeling we're gonna see some better deals here. Hey, we've got 2,100 people in here and 600 likes. If you guys could please like the live stream, is the number one way to support the channel. Thank you. Microsoft CEO Nadella says OpenAI governance needs to change no matter where Altman ends up. I saw a funny meme over there on Twitter because this is what I said yesterday in Markets in the Morning. If you've seen the movie Social Network, is that what it's called? The one about Facebook? Is that just called Social Network? The movie? It's got Justin Timberlake in it, right? And he's sitting there and he's telling him, change the name to this. This works better. What was it? Drop the OpenAI, just Microsoft. If you're going to deliver the punchline, make sure you better deliver it better, BCB. Drop the OpenAI, just Microsoft. It's cleaner. That's what I think's happening. I think we're watching a theatrical show of a takeover with Microsoft. I think is what we're seeing. All right, Jim Cramer, and everybody's got an opinion. It's just silly. It's just like with vaccines and masks and Israel and everything on Twitter. Everybody's got an opinion. They're in the know on what's going on. You don't know what's going on. This is probably a hostile takeover, is what's probably happening. And very few people say that. All right, OpenAI in intense discussions to quell potential staff mutiny. OpenAI investors angel to bring back Altman. We're done. We're done with this story. Higher interest rates are shattering housing dreams around the world. U.S. futures fall as stocks rally. Screens scorched. Markets wrap. Gaza hostage. Okay, there's no news. Okay, let's jump back in here. I'll hop into the chat here. Not Oscar Hernandez was the first one out the gates. He said, I'm just sneaking in to say what's up before the real Oscar shows up. Thank you, Not Oscar. Whenever you stop by, I always appreciate it. You sometimes go through gaps where you're not here, but we always miss you. Thank you. Chaser Stover, new member. Welcome. Chase Stover. Thank you, Chase. Crypto Student 99 gifted a BCB membership. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. Philip Mann also gifted one as well. Thank you, Philip. Jaleg. Member for 7 months. Have you ever looked at the data of the stock market during presidential election years? It's every 4 years. 4 years? I don't know. I don't know what you want to draw from it. I mean, we can just draw a box over it and say, here's what it did. Right? But as for like full blown analysis, it's just like saying September has to go down because September's been red. It wasn't, right? It was green. So I don't really pay attention to that. I mean, we obviously all have our most recent bias of what happened during the last presidential election, because what did we have? C19. It hit the fan. It hit the utter fan, right? But then it bounced all the way back up, right? And they got back into all-time highs before the end of the year. So crazy year, right? But we also had a crazy 2022, which wasn't a presidential election year, right? Thank you, Joe. Hans Loaded gifted 1 BCB membership. Thank you, sir. Oscar Hernandez, welcome, Oscar, says digital tacos while we listen and hit the like on the Taco Tuesday. Thank you, Oscar. One rough weekend. The message was retracted. I don't know if a mod deleted it or what ended up happening. I don't think a mod deleted it. Maybe you did. But one rough weekend. I know you're a supporter of the channel. You've been here a lot, man, brother. Thank you. Wally Walnut, could you update your thoughts on others that we need to do ABC still? Thanks, bro. We did. Wait, what? ABC? ABC was done a long time ago. Which chart am I willing to mess up? We'll mess up this one. So this is ABC. I did like multiple videos on this. I even forced you guys to watch a whole video for the 3rd time last Friday. If you haven't watched last Friday, this is the ABC. It took place. It was the cruel summer of roughness, right? Now this is the attempted sign of strength at the top of the range breakout, right? But I'm not sure what ABC you're referring to, unless you're talking about this one from a long time ago. But thank you very much, Wally. Life of Shane says, how has crypto done over Thanksgiving weekends? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think there's been many times where on holidays it hits the fan. Many times. But for Thanksgiving in particular, I'm not really sure. Gaurav Gulati, thank you very much. Very generous. So if you believe we will have a back test after the breakout of Wyckoff, then this should not be alt season. Or do you believe there could still be a rare all-time high for alts this season if we're heading for retrace levels for Bitcoin? This is just what typically happens, right? So I'm going to show you the things that occur the most likely, right? That occur the most commonly. I don't have a crystal ball. I just don't. I can just go through all of history and say, these are structures, these are indicators, these are the things that most commonly happen afterwards, right? So most common thing after firing up is to head back down and back test the support level. That's just the most common level. It's just the most common thing to occur. Whether it's quick, whether it's really drawn out, the amount of time it would take, I don't know. Will it be something along the lines of where we get like a 60% crash in a matter of a couple of weeks, everybody panic sells and leaves, and then the market fires right back up really quick? Don't know. Will it take months to pull back? I don't know. These are just the common things that occur, that we shoot back up and then we pull back. I mean, you can look at things like there's Bitcoin Cash. This thing got all the way up here, right? It got right there into April, stalled out, and then just did the escalator, right? Not doing the elevator straight back down, did the escalator, now pulling back down and hitting at least one support level over here, but then cruising all along. But you can go find examples when the market is super hot, where if like the stock market is breaking out and the stock market's going crazy and liquidity is pouring in and FOMO's coming in, these things can happen very, very quickly. So how long it takes, I don't know. But what is the most common thing to occur is a back test of those support levels. So I would suspect that they will at some point. Right. And again, we still need a breakout. We don't have one yet. And Bitcoin sits at those sketch levels, right? If Bitcoin breaks down in here and just starts this whole thing, seems pretty unlikely there's going to be some mega alt season to happen, right? This is not how history behaves, and but maybe this time is different. You can't bet on that, right? I mean, how do you bet on that? You have to continue listening to conspiracies, flip the switch, and all that kind of stuff, and I just don't do that. So if Bitcoin can break out, It's optimistic, and we'll see how the altcoins behave. And the thing that would insinuate also that has been the problem child for the market would be things like this. Something where Bitcoin has peaked, pulled back, but the altcoin market continues to march higher. That has been now historically in multiple circumstances where trouble has happened, right? Where Bitcoin has not gone back into a new high, but the altcoin market did. That's historically been a bad thing, right? So we don't have anything like that occurring right now. Right, as Bitcoin goes into the high, altcoin market goes into the high, and what I don't see in this market is I don't see euphoria yet. I have other stuff that I look at, just in like in regards to traffic, right? Viewership, like percentages, all that other stuff, engagement on different things. You know, when we are hitting like euphoric moments, I don't see that right now. You would think we would be seeing euphoria happening right now if this was peak stuff. I don't see it yet. But if we do, I'll communicate that to you. But another thing to really look for would be these stuff like this. If Bitcoin breaks through here, altcoin does too, then Bitcoin pulls back and it can't go into a new high yet, but the altcoin market just keeps on marching higher after that. That's typically the sign of the end. So I don't see those flashing just yet. The biggest concern I would have right now of scenarios that I've outlined for the last few years, while all your favorite content creators are telling you we're going to 12K, is that we would go into retracement levels. I'm telling you, and I may sound like I have a little bit of resentment and a little bitter about that. It's a year and a half, man. A year and a half is a long time to take it on the chin about that kind of crap. And we're back here. And so now all these guys are flipping to being bullish. And it of course occurs as I'm pointing out, we're at the first one. We're at the first one of like danger. That we have to, keep an eye on right here, and what would be signs to say that things rejected from there and things are actually bad. And that would be in the event that we go take out 31.8K and we start closing it like in the 29s or 28s. So it would be pretty bad. But as for Altseason, we just have to see one, you need to see stock market going. Two, you need to see probably more strength than this out of Bitcoin. And three, a divergence happening there in the altcoin market, where the altcoin market continues marching up and Bitcoin is not. And that would be the marker of the end. As for the timing of it, we'll see, right? This is the theory that I've presented in regards to a retracement, there where the altcoins rocket during the retracement. That's not typical behavior of the altcoin market. The altcoin market typically does not do anything until you get into all-time highs throughout all of history. Otherwise, it occurs into retracements, as you saw at the peak and you saw at the peak. And so the idea that Bitcoin's not going into a new all-time high would insinuate that what we have watched are three major super cycles take place for Bitcoin over the course of the last 13 years, 14 years. All those super cycles have come to completion, and that now this is a major retracement. Let's do this. I think this is from the video yesterday. That would be bad. That you have super cycle 1, super cycle 2, super cycle 3, and at the end of a super cycle, we have A, B, C. Right? So this would be retracement leg, major retracement leg. That can be legs where you see altcoins go rocketing. Right? Have we ever seen that happen before? Never. Never. It would have to be in the circumstance that Bitcoin is super mega bearish. Otherwise, there's no alt season until you get to new all-time highs. That's what's happened in every single one of these things, every time. If alt season is going to happen in here, you have to recognize that an alt season happening into a retracement, do you know what that means? Like, does anybody know what that means? It means really, 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 really bad future for crypto. Really, 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 really bad future for crypto. I'm going to repeat that. that means Bitcoin doom. Like doom, 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 doom. It means that Bitcoin didn't have enough strength to even get into a new all-time high, and everybody who owns Bitcoin just started bailing on it early and started chasing altcoins because they just lost interest in it already. That's my theory because of the stock market, that the stock market doesn't have enough juice to go do anything substantial like that, to go absolutely bonkers and wild. And so that's been my theory on this. And that's why I didn't believe in the 12Kers, right? The 12Kers didn't have a grasp on what was going on with the market. They were sticking with the idea that Bitcoin has gone down 84% every single time. So that means we're going 84% this time. And that's not the circumstance. No, I never believed it. Right. And so it's held, right? And the scary thing about it being, about it holding and about it retracing, about it doing the things that I've discussed, is I'm right so far, right? Now we just have to wait to see what's going to happen with those altcoins. And that would mean the first thing to watch out for is getting back into those April levels. And then after that, you're typically going to correct afterwards, right? You say alt season, well, it's like that's still going to be hundreds of percentage points likely for several altcoins. But if you're needing 50,000%, I would doubt it. I would doubt it. Unless there's something unexpected occurs happening in here. But typically, this is the phase. What you would kind of hope for. I think like I've played with this idea quite a bit too, like after crashing structures and what typically happens, and like even lose XRP. Do we still have you? Let's go here. Well, I don't want to lose this or that or that or that. We'll go here. Like a good example is probably like that, right? You see how quick everything happens in here, and then you enter a new consolidation range, right? It fires up back in these levels. XRP is so aggressive, it even goes another leg higher than that. And then what does it do? It pulls back down to the thing and then starts ranging again for another leg up to go even higher. If I could imagine the most optimistic scenario for others, it probably is something like that. It's where we go reclaiming a lot of what happened back in 2022. Then it's likely got a range. And in the event of that, you would think that $2016 is still in play, right? But we're at a complicated time now, right? Bitcoin's back into the retracement levels and definitely struggling this morning so far. But we have work to do. You have to prove this not to be right first, right? This is the first thing that needs to occur. All right. Thank you very much, Guarev. It was very generous. Dr. Tai, BCB, is that guy holding up the line? BCB is that guy holding up the line at checkout. Please hit the likes so people stop using coupons. Oh, man, I'm not that guy. Like, you got to get them all, like, you put all your groceries on, and then you slap your coupons right there at the end. All right, Andy Philpott, super chat. Thank you very much. Sleepy. Kobe Audette. Could you see the Fed cutting rates because U.S. can't refinance debt at higher rates, not because of bad economy, instead pouring gas on an already hot economy in the market? That sounds like FUM. That sounds like mental gymnastics is what that sounds like. I doubt it. I really doubt it. Here was something I was doing the other day for... just like, don't fight the Fed. Yeah, if you fought the Fed, you crushed it. If you were a baby and didn't fight the Fed, you got left behind. That's the cold hard reality. But so like the mindset that has been dealt to retail investors by people who have no idea what has happened with the Fed and interest rate cuts is that hiking has tended to be okay, which we've seen Bitcoin rise during the entire hiking cycle since the 75 basis point rate hike started. We've been rising and rising and rising. So now has the market reacted, right? This is very similar to what happens in a market, like we've talked about a lot of times, the pause, right? Fed funds. Right, we've done many comparisons of what has happened with the stock market and when the Fed is cutting and when the Fed is hiking during pause periods, hiking periods, and pause, hike, and cut. So we're going to add a couple of things on here really quick. And again, you have to understand that it is unequivocal to debate Bitcoin's correlation to the United States stock market. If you live in the fantasy, and I don't know how to say this in a nice way without just being blunt about it. If you live in the fantasy of that not being true, I don't watch this YouTube channel. Move on, man. Go find somebody who's going to spill you BS and sell you crap that's not real. It's unequivocal. There's the correlation between the stock market and Bitcoin for anything big. And so what we could do is we can figure out, well, what happens with the stock market during these federal interest rate hikes, pauses, and cutting periods. And then we also know that when it comes to bull and bear markets between gold and between the stock market, they are inverse. Either one is in a massive bull run and the other one's in a massive bear market, or the other one's in a massive bull and the other one's in a massive bear, or they're both getting hammered at the exact same time. They don't both go into bull runs at the same time. They've both been ranging for some time here, right? You know that the dollar still hasn't, or that gold still hasn't gotten into new all-time highs, and the stock market's been ranging during this whole time. We just can't seem to get an answer. We've been watching this on Markets in the Morning since the inception of it in the spring of this year, earlier this year. We can't get the breakout to happen in here for either one of them just yet. But we can look at these things, right? So let's just start putting markers on the screen. This is where the Fed pauses back in 2000, right? That's your pause period. Here's the pause in 2006. Okay. Here we go. I think it's safe to say we've entered pause now. We'll go ahead and put another pause over here. There's your pause before C19. Okay. So what happens when the cutting starts, right? Does anything really go on with the stock market? No. Does gold go up? Gold seems to rise in that period, okay? What happens here in the pause, right? Stock market has its final rally. Notice what happens in here, right? This is, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. This is what we've talked a lot about with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, about those higher lows coming in here and higher highs, right? And then when they pause, then it goes on for that last rally, and then S hits the fan, right? We've talked a lot about that. And so now we are in pause period. This is what happened with the pause, right? It rallied and it went into the new all-time highs. The cuts began and that marked the end. Notice during the pause period, gold just kind of still hangs out in here. When the cuts go, gold rises, right? So you have the United States stock market falling, and you have gold rising into the cuts happening. Okay, here we go. All right, we enter pause. So here's the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and here is gold. Notice, here we go, we enter pause. Gold kind of stays here. The cuts begin. We start going and going and going. There's a quick knockback when the liquidity event happened throughout all markets, but we keep going and going and going. Finally, once the stock market reverses, that's the end of gold. But I would think what we definitely see in here is we see pauses, right? We know that we can rally during a pause for the stock market. We know we can. Even here in C19, you had a slight rally here before literally the floor just fell out from underneath it. Everybody blames COVID. It's just silly. There was no liquidity there. The stop losses triggered, liquidity events triggered. It was S hitting the fan. And that's just what happens in markets when you have these types of things happen. That's the same reason why when you do these things right here, why the great financial crisis goes and just clears everything out. Because when you build like that, you leave just stop loss, stop loss, stop loss, stop loss, stop loss, stop loss. And that's how markets behave. And we see that even in crypto all the time. Whenever you have something like this, there's just going to be stops, 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 stops. Oh crap, one got triggered. Oh crap, they're all getting triggered all at the same time. and it's just automatic triggering of sales that ends up happening in there. And so, of course, that's exactly what we had happening during C19, right? Stop, trigger, and then recovery. So either way, Fed pausing. We can have rallies here. We know we can, even in these, like, one, we know that the Dow hasn't hit a 4.236. We know it's just like what happened with Bitcoin and Ethereum when you clear the 3.618 extension. Then what did they do? They go on and hit the 4.236. So that's still always been possible, right? The question is it going to get there? Is it going to do it? We're at retracement levels. Again, it's one of those things in 2022 that was very vocal. We're going back to retracement levels. We get back to the retracement levels. Everybody wants the answer. What will happen there? And it's where I'm always going to be wishy-washy on it when we're back into the retracement levels, because that's the big struggle happening for them. But when we're looking at it from the aspect of Fed, and we need a narrative, we need a story to go with it, Fed usually cuts because there's a problem. That's just what happens. There's a problem that the Fed has to fix, and not just to help the government refinance their debt. There's usually, because what does that do? Then it's going to cause more spending, it's going to cause more inflation, it's going to cause more everything. They're not going to do that. They will let the U.S. government have to pay those higher interest rates for a couple years without risking the rest of the economy's inflation going out of control. They will cut again, like they will. But it's going to need to see the stock market getting absolutely obliterated first before it happens. And I think that will happen. But we've entered the Goldilocks zone, and we've talked about that for the last year and a half. All the people who say don't fight the Fed. Look, here's the stock market during rate hikes, right? It's not true. Everybody's told you that when rate cuts happen, that's the greatest thing. That's the time when you long the market. That's not true. That's where you actually play really defensive. That's where you get scared to death when the Fed starts actually cutting. In these circumstances in here, you had one little high that was set right here for the stock market before the great financial crisis happened. You didn't get that over here in 2000, right? You actually had already popped the bubble for the NASDAQ, and you didn't even get a new high over here in the Dow. When you do start cutting over here before C19 starts, you did actually get a couple more months of a rally up a little bit higher, and then it all fell apart. But in no circumstance is it time to we're finally cutting, we're finally easing, it's time to add to my long-term bags. That's not been the case in any of these. But the pause has historically been okay. But gold seems to be the winner when we do start rate cutting, right? But even in the event of a liquidity crisis, of S hitting the fan, as you could see during the great financial crisis, right? Gold still fires. Look at this. You got the Dow going down, but gold rips, right? We're cutting. Gold says, let's go. Dow says, oh no. But then when the liquidity crisis happens and liquidity event happens, gold does pull back down with it, but then kept on going. And you could see gold rising here too, as the cuts are happening. And then when it starts falling apart, it's just not as impacted by it. So I keep these things in mind, right? Like on gold and the Dow, and then understanding that I have to consider the Dow as the cryptocurrency market and think of it as the cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin. And that just takes away a lot of the magic of Bitcoin. And I understand that, I've been in this space for over 6.5 years. I've watched, it's usually once you get through a year or two of it, you realize that the narratives that are shilled by Bitcoin maxis are complete BS. Complete. Total fabrications of reality. And then you start seeing the data, and the data really kind of lets you know this is how things end up going. So no, I to answer your question, when it comes to rate cuts, I will not pretend to think it will do anything different, that it's just to help the U.S. government service its debt. Another thing I was thinking about today too is that with the United States stock market, one thing we've joked about, but also serious about, is whenever Congress bans themselves from owning stocks. My wife was having a conversation with me yesterday. I'm going to throw you under the bus, honey. But she was expressing her frustration of how politicians can get into office and then become millionaires while they work there. How do they end up doing that? I'm like, well, they're insider trading, And she goes, yeah, I know. This just doesn't seem right. And it just does remind me that, Congress constantly dangles the carrot, just like Bitcoiners have that ETF dangled in front of them. Congress constantly dangles the carrot of they're going to ban the ownership of stocks. They're going to ban the trading of stocks for congressional people who hold office. And it just always reminds me of people like my wife, which of course there's me there to educate her with my tinfoil hat on, to be like, look, don't you realize that this is a trick? But how most people will agree with that. Most people will be on board with the idea that Congress shouldn't own any stocks. Congress shouldn't be doing day trading with insider information. And whenever Congress does ban themselves from the ownership of any stocks, it will be a political victory for them. But at the exact same, and everybody will be on board with it. But at the same time, it's just like what the Fed did. And the Fed banned themselves from owning stocks at the literal peak of the S&P. And then I thought to myself, I tried to go through the events in my head of how it happened. I said, okay, so what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for Congress to ban themselves. But it wasn't that simple with the Fed. They actually played a narrative with it, kind of like we're seeing with this OpenAI stuff, how it's all this big elaborate thing, but it seems like it's probably a Microsoft takeover. If you remember, there became news stories the days leading up to it. Before Jerome Powell said, we're banning it, a couple of Fed officials get busted, but they're at the same time they're these people who are retiring, so it's okay to throw it was just so happened to be that they were the scapegoat people because they were retiring. That I wouldn't doubt it if it's kind of played the same way for Congress. There's something that happens. Somebody gets busted, something bad happens, it gets everybody riled up about it, and then Congress passes it, and society is like, yeah, the right thing was finally done. These people are so good. But they're just actually selling the 4.236 extension of the stock market. Right? They're just dumping. They're selling the peak. But it's so perfect. It's such a perfect narrative to tell everyone we're doing the right thing. We are going to force ourselves to sell all of our stocks, and we're doing it for a good cause. But it's actually just like what the Fed did in October of 2021, where they banned themselves. And so they did give themselves 60 days to liquidate all their stuff, 60 days or 90 days to sell all their stuff. And so I would think Congress would probably do that too. But again, be prepared for theatrics, probably a narrative. If it ever does happen, we don't even know if it ever will happen, but if it did, yeah, food for thought. Such slime balls, right? All right. DXY, find a little bit of support there. We'll see if it's actually any real support as gold sits at $2,003, silver at $23.87. Stock market a little bit rocky today. Coinbase pulling back, Roblox and Amazon, but you got Tesla, United Health, and Google as winners, with Bitcoin at $36,500. Again, we are still waiting to see, is 2016 a play? Is the doom scenario the play? Or can we keep this thing up like we did back in 2020, doing exactly as we did with the stock market as it's leaving its ABC at the exact same time? Big point, big level. 38,000's big level. We need to break through it to get through there. Fortunate things that I don't see. I don't see euphoria. I don't see it throughout the market. We got the SEC coming in and timing their attack on crypto once again after kind of taking some big fat L's in the courts. You would think they would have chilled out, but they've decided they have no chill and still just issue complete BS in their lawsuit against Kraken. Whether Kraken was commingling funds or not, that may be its own thing. But again, they go naming like 11 asset securities such as Cosmos, Cardano, Internet Computer, Algorand. I don't know. There's like 11 of them in there. They name them as securities once again, which we already know the courts have already stated the digital asset itself is not a security. So they're still just up to their same old stuff. And they've just taken loss after, I think somebody had posted they lost all 3 of their cases in crypto. They are 0 for 3. And if they went to the Supreme Court, it would look absolutely ridiculous. So, all right. I don't know. Welcome back, SEC. We certainly didn't miss you. Gary Noodlehand Gensler. But there you go. All right. How do we end this light, tight, and bright? How do we end this nicely? Tomorrow is Wednesday. So keep an eye out. So I don't know if I'll have the video out today or if I'll have it out tomorrow morning. Where I'm going to get some info for you guys for developer, so you could see development activity and developer data and things going on in the cryptocurrency market right now. So you can kind of get a snapshot of where we're at in the market. I'm going to speak with Santiment and try to get you guys some stuff. Tomorrow is Wednesday. It's the last day before we go on vacation. I'm doing my absolute best to not be in vacation mode right now because I am in it. Hardcore. Up here in the head, I'm on vacation. I'm not living in these charts. I'm showing up, I'm doing the thing, but all I'm wanting is to be like casting my fishing pole, smoking a turkey, like throwing a baseball, swinging a baseball bat, and just goofing off. That's all I want right now. But I'm here. Again, I'll be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the holiday. There's a good opportunity to go check out the stuff, check out other content from me if you haven't checked it out yet, which is bcbacker.com and over there on Substack. Otherwise, guys, waiting for some action to take place over here in the market as we get ready for holidays. So I hope that you all are doing absolutely well. Let me take a look see if I didn't miss anything over here. Dr. Ty said that I'm the guy holding up the line with the coupons. Colby, I hope I got your question there with the Fed stuff. I'm not going to spin a new narrative for what it would mean if the Fed cuts, right? Lots of crypto content creators tried to spin up narratives of why crypto would die or stocks would die as the Fed was raising. They didn't. The markets all rose during the hiking cycle, right? They fell in the anticipation of the hiking cycle and then rose in the hiking cycle, right? So maybe the markets have been rising in anticipation of the cutting cycle, but then will fall during the cutting cycle. What? Maybe. But as for a narrative, I'm just going to go on the data. I've got 20, last 3 hiking cycles. What all happened? That's just going to have to be where it's at. All my thoughts on that. Alex Werner, thoughts on Radix? Dev growth is very high. Thanks. Yeah, so I looked at Radix. My only problem with it is like the number of exchanges that it's on. It's kind of weird. You mean dev activity growth is pretty high, but like, number of devs is up there, is doing okay. But dev activity, last time I checked, it was ranked like number 25 or number 30 or something like that. Maybe number 35. It definitely wasn't 25. Sorry. It was like 30. I think it was 30. The only problem is like at this point, the coin being around that long, why isn't it on Coinbase? Like everything else is like on Coinbase, but why isn't that one? The only place you can get it on is like MEXC. And when it's something like that and it's been around that long, like you see other things with high dev activity that are new, like Celestia, that TIA coin, or SUI, SUI. Those are like brand new things. Like Coinbase immediately listed them, right? Why would something like that be around for years and they're still unwilling to list it? So that's why, I don't know. I think maybe there's something there that I don't know. Weird thoughts on it. XRP Kiddotech, thank you very much. And then Andy Philpott gifted 5 BCB memberships. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you all are getting those turkey bellies ready. So here's the thing. So I've been doing a really good job working out, preparing for Thanksgiving. Over the course of the last about 20 days, I've gone to the gym 17 times over the last 20 days. The problem is, right? So I was getting like, looking good, looking kind of cut, getting ready for Thanksgiving. The problem was I ate pizza 3 times this weekend. I also ate McDonald's and I ordered Chinese delivery and like lost all of it, man. So I've kind of like all that work I did to prepare for Thanksgiving. I like went on a food bender, like binged hard, shame, like lo mein hanging down my face as I fall asleep. With shrimps and, kung pao beef all over me. So, whatever. I'm going to eat pie. I don't care. We're going to get through it. It's the holidays, right? So I hope you guys are excited for the holidays. If you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, like a lot of people who don't live in the United States, it's like not a thing, right? But it's pretty cool. Get with your family, make a deal out of it. Like everybody make your dish that like you're really good at. Like for me, which we're not making, but did you know that I'm really good at making fettuccine Alfredo? Like there's no point in going to a restaurant and ordering fettuccine Alfredo from the most high-class Italian restaurant in the world because I make the best. But I don't get to make fettuccine Alfredo, so instead we make green bean casserole, but we use my Alfredo sauce as the base of the green beans. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, just make a killer meal. Have everybody bring their favorite thing and enjoy life, man. We don't get many holidays like this here in the United States where you get like a couple of days off to really just hang out with your family and pig out, and it's like totally socially acceptable to be a pig. And I'm gonna do it. So Colby says, I totally agree with you, and I'm just wondering your opinion on that theory. West Coast Lurker here, watch every day, just rarely live. Just really live. Okay, thanks for all you do, BCB. Colby, thank you very much. Yeah, and I wasn't being argumentative with you. When I answer questions, a lot of times I'm just like real direct. I think that's what people want. So, well, you guys, we'll see how things go in the coming days. We're all just waiting for it to go, and I hope you all have a wonderful couple of days. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We'll frog it up really hard, and then it's party time. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Check out bcbacker.com. Read the newsletter already. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? You're silly. You're crazy. You are nuts. All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a great one, guys.